Welcome back, everybody. That's right. It is Wednesday night, 8 p.m., and it is time for the Squatters Lounge podcast. Tonight, we're off to southern Georgia. That's right. The swamps and mountains seem to coalesce together there in the southern part of the state. I've got some really, really creepy vocals, and we're going to check them out tonight. Got a brand new Quasi Theory from our man, the great Dean Cooper, and it is going to be fun. That's right. And I am the host of this mess, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. The man with the beard is the only reason he's ever had a date. That's right. Look at that thing. It's just going great. I'm here. You're there. Makes everything so much better. And we're going to get along with it tonight. Got a little bit of news to get through. Let's see if I can find where the news went, because I got a lot of stuff open here, and it's just kind of messy. It's going to be a little messy tonight, but it's going to be all right. Google, why do you do this to me? There we go. Okay. There we have it. New discovery could force us to rewrite the timeline of humanity for the umpteenth time this year alone. I mean, it seems like every discovery has to rewrite America. Yeah. New discovery and ongoing quest to determine when our human ancestors migrated out of Africa has shifted the timeline back yet again. That's right. Writing in Nature, a team of geologists, archaeologists, and paleoanthropologists describe a rich cache of stone tools unearthed from a steep hillside in the lowest plateau of north-central China. The 96-shaped flakes and unmodified hammerstones were found in the 17 distinct sediment layers that date from 2.12 to 1.26 million years ago. So they've been using them for the very, very, very long time. Look at that. Yeah, all that neat stuff, and they're just going to keep going back and back and back, although they're not even sure if those stone fragments come from Homo sapien. But hey, you know, like we've talked about on the show here before, there are lots of our direct cousins that were on the planet with us at the same time. All right, here's a good news piece for you. Lions eat poachers looking to slaughter rhinos. That's right. A group of poachers learned the merciless rules that when nature is broken to a South African game preserve to slaughter a herd of rhinos, and were instead eaten by a pride of lions. That's right. A head and a number of bloody body parts and limbs were found near the scene after at least 3 illegal hunters were devoured by the predators, reports the Mirror. Staff at the Sibuya Game Reserve in Eastern Province, South Africa, called in a helicopter to search the area for more poachers. The 6 lions had to be tranquilized in order for the police to venture into the area and recover the poachers' remains. The owner, Nick Fox, said as many as 3 poachers were eaten, according to the evidence. Yay, lions! Sorry, I have absolutely zero feelings for poachers of any kind. I mean, that's just horrible. Hey, you know what? Right-wing Christians are now claiming that Bigfoot, just really a devil. So we can stop looking. You know, he's just the devil. Apparently, former Family Research Council fellow Tim Daly was on a religious right radio show hosted by Janet Medford and claimed that Bigfoot was created by, that's right, none other than the devil. I don't ever want to see you out there searching for Bigfoot, Bobby, because Bigfoot is the devil. Murford asked how Christians should view Bigfoot. It's real. It's a projection. It's a demonic virtual reality, but it's not nuts and bolts in this case. Flesh and blood creatures, Daly said. Wow. He then said that Bigfoot was a part of the devil's schemes. It's part of the devil's modus operandi. He has always used this kind of phenomenon to once again destabilize, to engender fear, to open us up to the possibilities of other realities, of other beings, and we're getting involved with demonic spirits. Yeah. Yay, crazy people. All right, we're going to move right along from that one. Hunter finds a huge clear footprint in an Illinois state park. That's right. We've talked about Bigfoot in Chicago with our quasi theorist, Mr. Dean Cooper, a couple of times. And, Chicago or Illinois has some definitely squatchy parts to it. We'll say that. Apparently, though, is Sasquatch living in eastern Illinois? The ultimate Midwestern Sasquatch hotspot, believe it or not. Illinois ranks number 4 for Sasquatch sightings, topping popularly perceived hotspots like Texas, Oregon, Ohio, and Michigan. As of the summer of 2018, there have been 298 sightings, trailing Florida by just 25 reports. The most recent report was in April 2018. And why is the area so conducive for Sasquatch activity? Much like Salt Fork State Park in Ohio, the 2,842 acres of Kickapoo State Recreation Area features many waterways, especially ponds, creeks, streams, and rivers. So there you go. Bigfootbase.com. I hadn't seen this one before. I got a chance to check it out. Not so sure about the picture. It's I don't know. Looks like a boot print in the back of it. I don't know why it would be that hardly ridged. Whatever the case may be, apparently Illinois is squatchy. Some sad news over the last couple of weeks. Willow Creek's Richard Henry dies. Richard Henry was one of the original investigators of the Patterson-Gimlin incident in Bluff Creek. Henry lived in Willow Creek, California, and he passed away as 86. He was the driver of Jim McLaren when they visited the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film site on November 5th, just weeks after the famous movie was shot, according to Daniel Perez, editor of the Bigfoot Times. And also, Dodson passed away on us. He was a North Carolina researcher. And the guy gave it hell every time he was in the woods, and sadly he will be missed as well. As much as people like to make fun of him, at least he went out and put himself where Bigfoot should be. Speaking of putting yourself where Bigfoot should be, don't forget our Redbubble /people/Bigfoot watch put you into the Squatchers Lounge podcast merch site. Yep, that's right. Shirts, t-shirts, mugs, clocks, travel mugs, stickers, you name it. Thanks everybody for the orders so far. It has actually been pretty decent. I want to thank everybody for that. Okay, that wraps up the news for this week. I just can't remember Dodson's first name, and that's really starting to bother me now because I didn't have it here on a note. Anyhow, let's get over here and see what is happening in the world of quasi-science with our quasi-scientist, Mr. Dean Cooper. That's right, Mr. Quasar Head himself. When I made that picture for him, God, how many seasons ago has it been now? 3? He was like, I love the quasar coming out of my head. So there you have it, people. All right, let's take a listen to this week's quasi-scientist. And now, Quasi Theories from a quasi-scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Bird melts rock. You may recall the quasi I did on the Maracoxi, the hairy tribe Percy Fawcett found in his travels in Bolivia, Peru, and Brazil. I found out about them while reading Ivan Sanderson's book, Things and More Things. Sanderson found them in the book, Exploration Fawcett, Journey to the Lost City of Z, which was assembled by Fawcett's son Brian from the massive pile of notes and journals Fawcett wrote during his explorations. The movie, The Lost City of Z, was based on the same book. I knew about Percy Fawcett, but had never read the book. Once I read about the Maracoxi, of course, I had to go get the book. The book is an excellent read, full of adventure. It reveals how utterly wild life was early last century in the upper Amazon basin. Most interesting to me, though, is the little tidbits he throws in. Fawcett was primarily a surveyor, with no training in biology or anthropology. So when he comes across something like the Maricoxi, he sees nothing remarkable. I was a geology major, so things like a tribe that, from his description, sound like an early hominid, well, those things kind of pop out at me. The following tidbit popped me right in the brain. I quote, "All through the Peruvian and Bolivian montaña is to be found a small bird like a kingfisher, which makes its nest in neat round holes in the rocky escarpments above the river. I once expressed surprise that they were lucky enough to find nesting holes conveniently placed for them and so neatly hollowed out as though with a drill. The man he was talking to replied, 'They make the holes themselves. I've seen how they do it many a time. I've watched, I have, and seen the birds come to the cliff with leaves of some sort in their beaks, cling to the rocks like woodpeckers to a tree, while they rub the leaves in a circular motion over the surface. Then they would fly off and come back with more leaves and carry on with the rubbing process. After 3 or 4 repetitions, they dropped the leaves and started pecking at the place with their sharp beaks, and here's the marvelous part, they would soon open out a round hole in the stone. Then off they'd go again and go through the rubbing process with leaves several times before continuing to peck. It took several days, but finally they had opened out holes deep enough to contain their nests. I've climbed up and taken a look at them, and believe me, a man couldn't drill a neater hole. I believe, as everyone who has watched them believes, that those birds know of a leaf with juice that can soften up rock till it's like wet clay.' Another fellow later told him that he was told by some Indians that the Incans used the same plant juice to soften and mold the rocks they used for their buildings, like at Machu Picchu. Fawcett never did find out what plant the birds and Incans used. Indians he queried said they knew, but they wouldn't tell him. They said they'd been screwed over by the Europeans enough, what with being enslaved for the rubber tree plantations, tortured where to find more gold, and what all. They didn't want to give Whitey yet another reason for wrecking the hunting by building yet another plantation system. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Well, there you have it, folks. Bydean.com. That's right. Okay, let's get out into the Squatchers Lounge tent revival tent tonight and see who is hanging out with us. Let's say howdy, y'all. That's right. That's what they say down in Georgia. Natalie Smith, how you doing there, young lady? I hope you are feeling well. Every week I get something all over my microphone here. How you doing? Glad you're here. Can Squanch. Timothy McCune. That's right. I think he said he was from the western mountains of Georgia. He should know all about this stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. Let's see here. We've got Gone Camping. That's right. He'll be back with another Gone Camping Tips for Stupids here before you know it. But go and check out his angle flashlight video is really cool. He upgraded it to LED, changed it from D cells to double A's, and it is a pretty slick video. You might want to go check it out on the Gone Camping channel. Yes. That's right. Let's see here. Who else is in the house with us tonight? We've got Cheryl Willen. Hello there. I believe she said her nephew Michael is joining us tonight. Well, I got news for you, Michael. You can be a non-believer all you want to coming into this show, but you're going to be having some serious questions when leaving the show. I promise you that. Get yourself some headphones and listen through headphones tonight, because you're really going to, well, actually, I was able to enhance them quite a bit, so speakers will probably be good enough. Shane Barber, the cryptid monster. How you doing there, champ? We are glad you are with us. Kathy Yarborough, she's checking in as well. Hello there, young lady. Scroll down here just a little bit. Don Reif, that's right, the Viking himself. Hello, good sir. You and I need to go camping before the year's out, man. I am so glad you are here. There will be one final camp out. I will be announcing the dates next weekend. There will be one final camp out open to the public. I've got a couple of private things that I've got set up, but there will be one more that everybody will be able to come along if they want to. Lee Scott, how you doing? I'm glad you checked in on us as well. Let's see here. Scroll down a little bit. Mr. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be, swinging that tool. There's Mr. Sam Squanch Rivera checking in from the west coast of Florida. That's right. And we are going to keep on getting it. Rob Robles. I'm pretty sure. Rob Robles. I'm quite sure how to pronounce that one. Glad you're there. Jonathan Dowdy. Hey there, dude. Hope you're feeling better. Let's see here. Hot diggity dog. How you doing there, champ? Glad you checked in with us. There's Dean Cooper. He don't have no tool. How come he don't have no tool? He's supposed to have a tool. I bet you he lost all his real names and check-ins and stuff. I bet you that's what happens. Spike Jeff, how you doing there, champ? Glad you are with us as well. Dun, 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 dun. That's right. I just gave you moderator there, champ. Brown Dwarf. That's right, man. Hey, one more camp out. Y'all should think about coming up because I have a feeling we're going back to the Pi Valley, and that, my friends, would be another amazing trip, especially now that we know more about it. All right, moving right down the road here, getting down. Screw the haters. Amen to that. Yes, we will have more campfire stories. Campfire stories are coming in the future. Right now, we're re-releasing the real Bigfoot encounters that have been gone for a couple of years. Christy, Monster Truck Gal, how you doing there? Glad you are with us. Monster trucks are definitely cool. All right, let's see here. Keith Blount, howdy, hey, right back at you. There's Obsidian Radio. He's getting before the content of the night. We're glad you're here with us too, as well, sir. You as well. El Dorado is kind of between here and Fresno, so it's not too bad. Let's see here. Who else has checked? The Reverend Matthew Gaines finally got back in the door. How you doing there, Reverend? Reverend. That's what we're going to be spies like us here before too long. Gustavo, how you doing? Glad you're here. I think everybody, that is about the bottom of the barrel. If I missed your name, I am so sorry, but I didn't see it in here. So we're glad that everybody has checked in. If I didn't say your name, check in with me. I'll get to you at the end of the show. That's right. Here we go. We are talking about Georgia. That's right. Willie Nelson. Nobody wants to admit it, but the whole day through. There we go. Sorry, folks. Had to get something up here for y'all to view. For some people, they can't pick out North Korea on a world map. I'll give you where we're talking about here in Georgia, near the South Carolina, Georgia border. There's Savannah. We're talking about the swampy areas of Georgia tonight. That's right. Now, the very first set of files that I've got here are from the which one is this? They are the Carolina Bigfoot Research Group that was down in Georgia, February 8th, 2014. They were on an expedition in the swamps of Georgia, and they got what they call swamp owls. Now, unfortunately for these are the ones that are kind of there's a whole bunch of dogs in this, and it gets kind of hairy, and then it gets loud, and I'll explain it to you as we go along. But the first minute 30 is an actual cut out of their much longer. It's like 15 minutes long, and dogs barking. God, my ears are killing me from listening to it. Oh, thank God that's over. Now, the explanation says that what we're listening to is a set of probably hunting dogs that are across the swamp trying to tree something. And that's what that constant nagging, barking in the background is. But whatever that whooping bark was between the recorder and the dogs started to go away from the recorder, started moving out towards the dogs. And I'm thinking it's another dog that just got lost off of the pack and he's trying to find it. But I enhanced a couple of the cuts. Here's a 17-second. It's from the beginning of it. That's just, it does sound a bit strange. It does sound like a big lunged animal. Now, I'm still kind of on the fence with that one. Now, this is a 25-second cut from a little later on where it seemed to change its pitch a little bit. And dogs don't really do that. When they start changing pitch a little bit, that's when I start to wonder what exactly is this, a mimic? Is this one of those instances where the Bigfoot are trying to mimic the dogs? I don't really know. I'll let y'all be the judge of that one. You can, I don't know that I'm even getting scared hearing that in the dark, but you know, these are the kind of creepy howls that they were able to catch that night. Now, the next set of vocals that I've got here are from a channel that's not a Bigfoot channel, as a matter of fact. The fella left his video camera out in the woods to see if he could get any deer on it, and just left it running and running and running and running. And apparently, in the time that it was out there, it caught some seriously strange, some really weird calls and hoots, and seemed like there were rocks being thrown at the camera, or at least in that direction that you can hear them fall. So it's a long cut. It's about 3 minutes unedited of a much longer, it's like an 8-minute video. So I'm taking a sample of it here, but the enhancements are going to be really worth it. And of course, the whoop was why I saved it for the very end there. Now, what's interesting about that was a long cut, I know, and it's tough to listen to when there's not a lot in between there. But the natural sounds of the forest were still active. The birds were chirping, insects were moving around. When stupid humans go out there and start screaming like that and start doing stuff like that, literally the forest shuts up. But yet, in this particular case, that isn't what happened. And there are definitely familiar calls there that we've all heard. Now, I did enhance the first minute 26 of it way up so that you can really get a good listen to what the vocals sound like in that as well. So let's take a listen. I mean, unless it's a total hoax, which I'm finding difficult to do because there's so many different types of vocals that are being recorded live, not take after take after take. It's not like one little vocal and then silence and another little vocal and then silence. I mean, this is all being done, real time. It's just great stuff. There's another section in that same video later on that well, let me play it to you and then we'll explain what they describe. So there's the typical Bigfoot howl involved in all of it. So we've got whoops, we've got chuffing, we've got a howl. It's just like the whole gambit is there. Now, a couple of years later, the guy's still looking into it. I mean, he doesn't have any answers at this point, and because everybody keeps telling him that it's Bigfoot, he starts to look into it a little bit more. And this is another one of his videos that I went through. A lot of the videos he had, stuff was really hard to hear. There was a lot of chatterable noise in between it, and it just wasn't very discernible. But the next one comes up in 2016, just 2 years ago. And I've got the first minute 11 of it unedited for us. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that. Now, at the very beginning of that minute, I thought for sure bear. Oh, it has, but there are sounds in there the bears don't make. I wasn't there. I didn't see whatever it is, but whatever this is definitely 100% animal, not human. You can hear the lung capacity of whatever it is, and it sounds like it's walking around on 2 feet. Now, I did a 32-second enhancement of some of that, so let's go ahead and take a listen to it. One of the things that it sounds like there's some samurai chatter in there as well, and I did manage to enhance that out as well. But here's the beginning of that. I'm not hearing bear anymore. I'm hearing more almost gorilla-like sounds. Almost like there was some curiosity at some point. Now, here's what that samurai sounded like. And I'll play it again. I've never heard anything like that in the woods. I've never heard an animal make that kind of noise, but I've heard people describe hearing stuff like that, almost like a reverse Russian or samurai chatter, as the famous voices in the wilderness fame. Now, later in that same video, I thought what I was hearing was tree knocks at first, but then when I really started listening to it, this is the same animal, and like I said, it's completely uncut through the entire video itself. There's no cuts in it. You can hear it walking around and everything, but the back end of this video, take a listen to what this sounds like and see if you can guess. I mean, it certainly sounds like rock clacking to me now. Like either something taking a rock and hitting a bigger rock with it, or having 2 rocks in their hands and just kind of clacking them together as an entertainment. I don't really know. And then that gentle whoop at the end of it, that just kind of is the signature now that we're seeing all over the country. That whoop is present. And if you listen to it real close there at the end, there's almost it sounds like there's a return whoop from something in the distance. I don't know if this is a family. I don't know, if there's, it certainly sounds as though he's got several different animals wandering around whatever this location is. He says it's basically right off of his house. I mean, he knows, I guess they're still trying what's really going on over there. He hasn't had any videos in quite some time now, but I will keep an eye out for you, because that is going to do it for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I do have another real Bigfoot encounter coming up for you here in just a moment. I'm going to go back to the chat room and make sure I didn't have any latecomers. I want to say hello to Christopher. Of course, he's hanging out there. Squatchbox will be with us as well. And Oreo Cream Rocks had to run to an emergency vet visit. Oh, crap. Say hi to her and Christopher and Collier and all my buddies, the BIPers. And, let's really hope we can do something pretty soon. Really was waiting for the chat box to come up, but it surely doesn't seem like it's going to tonight. So with that, I'm going to send you into the real Bigfoot encounters, and we will hope that it will load before that is over. A couple of redwood hikers run into Bigfoot, and their story is pretty bone-chilling. So with that, thanks everybody for being here tonight, and may the Squatch be with you till next week. Welcome to another edition of Real Bigfoot Encounters with Reverend Jeff. This week's story comes to me firsthand from the Redwoods expedition from an avid hiker and his son of the Coastal Trail in Humboldt County, California. A chance encounter with a family of Bigfoot changed their lives forever. Let's hear their story. My 9-year-old son Jake and I are avid hikers. He was a trooper, and we've covered more than 10 miles at a time on our trips. This time we decided to head up the Coastal Trail in Northern California. The trail is pretty easy to travel for the most part, but Jake and I decided we were up for a challenge, so we decided that Humboldt County was the place to go. We picked out a trailhead that would be just about 15 miles. The plan was to get dropped up early in the morning and get picked up at the next point later that day, so no need to bring camping gear. That was the plan was set, and the following weekend, we headed out. My friend Bill was willing to make the trip, but he was unable to hike the trail due to a bad leg, so he opted to cruise around the town and talk to the people while we made the trip up the trail, and I could call him to pick us up when we got close to the next trailhead. Jake loved to watch the birds, so he brought his field glasses, and I brought my little digital camera, a cheap little waterproof deal, as this was the rainforest, and lots of rain was expected. We put on our rain gear, and I swear Jake just disappeared into the waist-high ferns. In fact, right from the start, he got a turn ahead of me onto the trail. I couldn't see him at all. The weather was very rainy that day, so we ponchoed up and we would hike out for a mile or so and then hunker down in a redwood stump and take a break from the rain and look for wildlife. After a little bit, Jake had spotted the biggest raven we'd ever seen, and while we sat there, a few elk moved through, not even noticing we were there. After a short bit, we pushed on another mile. We were taking pictures of everything, not really in particular, but of the trees and the moss, the ferns, just wandering up the trail for hours, it seemed. And I realized we're not making very good time. So after a good rest in yet another redwood stump, Jake and I really pushed the boots to the trail and made some distance. It was later that afternoon, about 4 o'clock, but with the overcast, it was already getting hard to see, and the fog was rolling in thick as could be. So again, we picked up the pace just a little more. Jake was tired and sore, so we really needed the rest. So I saw a big redwood stump coming up, so we sat up underneath it for a good rest. Jake laid out the spare ponchos we had, and I grabbed up a couple of long branches and made a lean-to up against the tree, just giving a little more space to crawl in and out. Really, you had to look for it. If you had passed us on the trail, it was getting there, you'd never even know we were sitting there. Jake had to relieve himself, so I set him out of the stump. He wasn't gone but a minute when I heard a whoop come from outside the stump. Then Jake came piling back in the stump in a hurry. Visibly shaken, Jake said, "Daddy, there's a monkey boy outside. I saw him when I peed. He whooped at me, and I ran back in here, but I swear it's out there. I didn't hear anything moving around out there, but the rain was coming down pretty heavy. About 15 minutes later, the rain had finally let up and light was starting to fleet. So quickly, I grabbed up the flashlight and stepped outside the stump, and Jake was on me like a tick on a dog. I turned the light towards the stump he said it was in, and sure enough, hunkered down the ball of the stump of the redwood, there was a young-looking monkey boy, covered in hair from head to toe. Not quite a man, not quite an ape. I knew instantly what we were looking at, but to my 9-year-old son, a monkey boy would make the most sense. But if I knew there was a little one out there, there were bigger ones nearby. I grabbed Jake by the hand and headed the 20 yards back towards the trail, and 10 feet in is when I spotted them. A big female Sasquatch, plain as day, with a young one in tow, heading it by the hand in the other direction. She had to be at least 7 feet tall and around 400 pounds, covered in brownish black hair, but with the small light source, that was all I could about see. We took another 2 paces and came face to face with an 8-foot giant male on our path. He looked at me, then looked at Jake, let off a strange whoop, and then my light hit his eyes and he ran off towards the female, and they were gone for sight in just a few steps. Jake and I hit the trail running as fast as his little legs would keep up, leaving the lean-to ponchos behind, and we finally came to a slow pace about a half a mile from the encounter. We rested for a minute and began to walk, and then realized when we had hit the trailhead. I barely had enough signal to call Bill, but he picked up, and then he was on his way. While we waited for Bill, a ranger drove up to the trailhead and asked if everything was okay. She offered to let us wait in the Tahoe while our ride was en route. It didn't take long for Jake to just blurt it out. The ranger was entertaining our tale and seemed interested in the story, but not so much as to call it in on the radio or call back up to investigate it. Jake was still really shaken up, and after practically stepping on the big male, I really didn't have any interest in going back myself. About 20 minutes later, Bill showed up and the ranger went about her route. Of course, Jake was feeling safe at that point and blurted out the story to Bill, who just simply said, "It happens like that around town sometimes. At least that's what the locals say." After we got home, I told the story to a few people, but no one really believed me, so I guess I kind of just let it go. But since then, we only hike under 10 miles and always off trail early in the day. Encounters in the redwoods go back hundreds of years from the times of the native peoples. This man and his son hit the jackpot of sightings when he encountered an entire family of Bigfoot. For them, a life-changing event. For me, it was another fantastic, real Bigfoot encounter. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you. All right, we'll give a late shout out to John Cap. I can't pronounce the last name, dude. There's way too many consonants in the middle of that thing. Kevin K420 is checked in with us, as well as Jack Frost Plays Games, James the Grower, and some chick going bullfrogging. Yeah, that's right. Cassie bullfrogging. So there you have it, folks. Thanks, everybody. Chris Platt, night. We'll see you guys next week for another Squatchers Lounge podcast. Until then, may the Squatch be with you.